Hello there. I'm Pastor Michael Jarbo. Thank you for checking out the very first Selfcare, Conversations to Renew the Spirit. This online platform of interviews will happen every Friday at noon. Join us for some great conversations with people who are taking care of their souls and want to help you as well. Join us. We're glad you're here. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Soul Care. Glad that you're here. I'm Pastor Michael Jarbo, and this morning I am meeting with Nathaly Moreno, a licensed therapist with modern therapy here in Houston, Texas, and turns out that she is also my therapist, which is so cool. And I asked her to join us to give us some tips of how to navigate this world of caring for our soul in this kind of confined space. So welcome, Nathaly. How are you this morning?
Thank you, Michael. So glad to be here. Really, this feels really important to be able to connect with the community right now. It's just huge.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Trying to adjust just like everyone else. We're all in that boat right now.
We are. Geez. And it feels like every single day is different, right, Nathaly?
Yes, every single day is going to look different. It's really hard to prepare right now, which I know like that contributes to the anxiety, but a lot of learning happening though,
Yes.
so which is really cool.
And we can learn a lot about ourselves. How about we learn a little bit more about you? Tell us a little bit about why you got into therapy and becoming a counselor to the degree that you are in today.
I love this question because I was actually even exploring this question last night at one of our groups. So we have Modern Therapy as sister companies, Human HQ. We have groups like for the community there. And last night we were exploring values in the workplace. So it's funny because I just was thinking about this story last night. You know, my value, I think, from the longest has been service and some sort of like caring along those lines. So I always knew that I was going to end up in a profession that was going to help me feed that value, like align with that value. So I was first going to go to medical school and then plot twist, the last semester of my pre-med, I discovered that you can be a therapist, that you can help people, sit with people, get to know their stories and help them go through that, learn, grow through therapy. So I just made a complete switch of my whole life and I just decided to get into therapy and I loved it because I think if I'm looking at my values, service and care, therapy is one of those that for me captures both.
Yeah. Oh, so good. Total plot twist, right?
Total plot twist. I was not expecting that.
How did the fam feel about that? How did the fam, you hear those stories about people leaving medical school to follow after their passion. I mean, how do they respond and how does that look today in today's world?
Yeah, I am so blessed with my family. They're very supportive. So they were like, okay, you go for it, whatever you want, it's fine. So I got a lot of support through that transition. And then it felt really good for me to go to therapy instead of like going to medical school, like particularly that was more my calling.
Cool. Awesome. That's so exciting. And you are caring and helping for so many people today, me included. And so I'm very thankful for you for that plot twist and the story that it is today because it means so much. So thank you, Nathaly. Little shout out there. Thank you, Nathaly, for caring for me. So just a few questions for you this morning. Let's see. Let's try this morning. How do you, everyone is confined to some degree to their home. Now, there are people, of course, working in grocery stores, and we are thankful for those in the medical field these days, caring so much for people. But how, when you get home, or if you're stuck at home, how do you care for your soul in confined spaces like this? And I know that's a very big question, but from your angle and from your profession, how would you respond?
And you're gonna hear me repeat this a couple of times probably throughout today because I just very focused on this idea. But part of existing through this time of our history in the world, it's gonna come with the learning piece, right? That we were talking even about at the very beginning. Like a lot is going to happen right now as we are going to sit down and really slow down, and even having to be home. Obviously, parenthesis, big shout out to everyone that is still out there providing those very necessary services. It feels really important, and I do hope also that they're doing the care that they need for themselves. For the rest of us that are having to stay at home, we are going to be pushed into slowing down of somehow we're going to have to slow down. Even for the ones that have to keep their routine at work, you're just going to get to a point throughout the day you're just going to have to slow down, and things are going to be different, which is the whole thing. So because we are so in that space of learning, of having to slow down, I really want to invite everyone to answer this question from the self-reflection, from the learning perspective. So take advantage of slowing down and sit with yourself, and then ask that question to you. It's gonna look very different for everyone, so it's really hard to even have an umbrella answer, because we are going to go through this in very unique and individual ways.
Right.
Part is going to be because of our history and our blueprint and what we bring into how do we deal with challenges, how do we care for ourselves. Part is going to be our biology. We all react to stress differently because of how we're built. So it is going to be very unique. But I think the key starts with just sit down for a couple of minutes and then ask that to yourself. What do I need right now? As I'm living through this time, as I'm living in this space, what would help my soul thrive and develop that resiliency so I can come out of this in whatever way that I want?
Wow. And I would guess that question that you ask yourself every day may come with a different response, but the practice of asking the right questions every day is the healthy piece in soul care. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I think the soul care, to give you a little more concrete answer around that, is just sit down and be with yourself, and then whatever comes from that, then that's going to be your specific form of care. But just start with you, because it just feels really important right now.
Oh man. Okay. Very good. Very good start. So self-care during this time, we're already talking about care on the subject. And, it's one of those things, I don't know, for those who are listening right now, but kind of week one, this kind of fell in the midst of spring break, right? A lot of people coming back from spring break or starting spring break in the midst of it. And spring break, though you can care for yourself, you do sometimes different practices during spring break and vacation and relaxing. And a lot of people are finding or even me at the beginning of this week said, I feel like I get my second week of spring break here, and treating it sort of as a vacation, and involving myself in practices that were vacation-like as opposed to self-care. And so I'm just trying let me ask this question. What are the differences between superficial self-care and actual self-care? How would you distinguish the two? Because watching binging all of the Harry Potters is I admit I have done, right? There's that show Tiger. Yeah, okay, you have too. Good. There's that show Tiger King. I mean, like watching TV, making another pie, in the oven, spending another day at the pool, or it's those are practices I want to do during this downtime, or just kind of what I'm saying is I want to disconnect. But that is disconnect and self-care the same thing? I'm asking a bunch of questions, but you see the difference between what is the difference between superficial self-care and
the
actual other? Yeah. How would you answer that?
I really love that question. Oh my gosh, it's so funny. Listen to you give those examples. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've done all of those. So I think because of the time that we're living through, I think the inner critic, the judgment is also very high. So because of that, I kind of want to play with the language a little bit, and I'm going to change a little bit of the superficial versus real language to serving and not
Okay.
self-care, like put it a little different in context. And this is why I want to do that switch, because again, with the idea of like, we're going to go through this in a very unique and individualized way, and I really want you guys to listen to yourself and what your soul needs. Then that's what's going to also point out what's really going to be serving for me through this time of having to deal with all of this uncertainty and like all of that's happening. So I want to remove as much as I can the judgment, because you see, like sometimes certain behaviors are going to serve us and sometimes they're not. And it
Mm,
really just depends where you put them, right? So sometimes, like for example, connecting with TV and watching 3 episodes of Netflix is exactly what's going to serve us. If you maybe are the type of person that does not know how to care for self and do time of like just leisure time and like slow down to build a little bit of time to do fun things. So if that's the case, then Netflix is going to be a great idea, because it's going to like something for fun instead of like go and be productive all the time. Now, for some other people right now, it's a great opportunity to then get the doer activated and then read all the books that you haven't read, or do the really deep cleaning your house. And that's going to feel really fitting, because maybe that is it's what's going to serve you right now. So that's what the self-care is all about. Maybe for you, it's about taking a really long bath, and that's going to be defined as self-care. And maybe it's going to be the opposite. It's going to be just completing the to-do list that you have been sitting in your kitchen for the longest. So right now, again, I just want you to hear yourself. What would help me? Who do I want to be through this time? And what would help me tolerate and navigate and grow and learn about myself? And then that's going to be self-care. So when we talk about self-care, we actually have so many options. And it's fascinating whenever I talk about this with my clients, like, okay, well, what can I do? And like, whatever. Really, the sky's the limit. Whatever. There's so many ideas out there to self-care, and a lot of times they're even opposite, and that's totally fine. It's whatever you need. So we do want to go away from that disconnect that you mentioned, Michael,
mm,
that sometimes like that's all we want to do. There is healthy disconnection, and then there's this disconnection that is not going to serve us. You want to be careful though that whatever self-care thing you're doing is not going to tap way too hard into the numbing, into the disconnection, because then we fall into a pattern of like not wanting to deal with what's happening with us right now. So disconnection at times can feel really healthy. Like for example, if you have been watching a lot of news and you're like, you know what, my brain can't take it anymore, I need to disconnect. So like, let me turn on Netflix and watch the latest documentary and just disconnect for a little bit. That feels really healthy, just to help your body regulate back to optimal. Now, if you're doing it as an avoidance mechanism, like I don't want ever to think about this, I don't want, like, this is my self-care, having to like be in that stage of denial, which is normal through this process. So you'll find yourself there even a little bit. We just want to be careful that you're not overdoing it, because every time we overdo things, that's kind of where we want to ask ourselves, okay, now is this serving me
right.
still, or have I passed the limit where it's like not good for me anymore?
Oh man, that is so healthy to do that balance. And like, I kind of had a question about uh, like breathing, and how do we breathe well, and because I find that breathing exercises for me have been really important. But again, I feel like it's just that's for me, but every individual has their own practices. I mean, would you give some easy pointers or tips for people? Not even necessarily breathing, but what are some go-tos for you, Nathaly, to center yourself a little
Mhm,
bit?
mhm. Absolutely. I love that question, because we sometimes struggle even realizing, okay, what would help me center? I love that phrase that you use. And I wanna say a couple of things about that. So there are the ones that we know, just the deep breathing a couple of times, close your eyes, try to like focus on your breath. That's the classic one. That's really easy to do. You can do it wherever at any time. Like it's just you don't need anything else but yourself and breathing, which comes with a package. So there is that one. There's also grounding, which basically is the practice that helps you be in the here and now. The other part that I want to talk about is like, I'm so grateful for technology right now. Oh gosh, I really can't it's like just it's huge. Technology right now is such a good tool. Obviously, it can also be not as good depending on how you're using it, but it's just been really nice to see the grace that people are having with everyone, with the community, everything that people are doing, like including this, for example. Like, it's amazing that we're able to use technology to give our community, to give ourselves this type of information. So you're going to find really great resources out there for guided grounding meditations, which just again being able to be here in the present instead of like thinking of anything else. And there are ones that are really long, there are ones that are really short, so you can go ahead and like find that. It's also really cool. And the other resource that I have for you, just in the general idea of like mindfulness, right? Because I really like how you say like we're all gonna want to do something different. So like, what are some ways that we can like look into and then find what works for us? So I wanted to put this resource out there because we started doing this at Modern Therapy early this week. And I really, really love this because I think it's a direct image and product of how different we are. So it's going to help everyone find something that fits for them. So on our Instagram, Modern Therapy Official, you're going to find 10 minutes with MT. And the reason why I love that is because every single day you're going to get one of us taking you through some kind of like mindfulness, breathing, grounding exercise.
Great.
And it's going to be really different because we're all so different. We're all under the same practice, but we all have our own unique ways to doing our craft. So you're going to be able to find a taste of every single one of us and then really hooked in. We're like, okay, this one from like, for example, Kelly did one last night. It was wonderful. So, okay, this one from Kelly is going to be my go-to. So this one's the one that's going to fit. So I would highly encourage you either go to the Modern Therapy Instagram or even on YouTube and kind of like finding what works. And if everything fails, go back to your classical breathing and just stay with you. Like that's really the key of it.
Good. All right, and we'll share that link in the post here when we post the link so people can find your Instagram account. We'll have all that stuff at the very end. We'll talk about it. Good. Oh, I love it. I need to pay attention to those 10-minute updates from you guys. That's perfect. Okay, so next question is, we've got a lot of people probably watching this who have children, young children, even high schoolers, college students who are back from college who have been kicked out of dorms because of all the chaos of our world right now and safety precautions. But also, I really want to focus in on like for young kids who maybe are at this point saying, so spring break isn't 2 weeks long. So spring break isn't 3 weeks long. Like, how do you navigate talking to your children about their fears, their anxieties, their uncertainties, without being too scary, but also being truthful, right? Like not like lying about the situation and saying, oh yeah, you are on week 3 of spring break, honey, don't worry. But like, how do you find that in between of talking with your kids and caring for their souls as well?
Oh gosh, shout out to parents. Like that's such a hard job right now dealing with this. Like I really you guys are very special to be able to do this type of work because it's a lot. It's having to deal with yourself and then with the little one. So just sending really positive and strength vibes to you all because I know it's very difficult. So I really like even how the question focuses on our little tiny humans, you know, the ones that maybe struggle the most, putting in words, okay, what is really going on? Like really, spring break is not this long. Like I know this, so what's happening? And I really invite everyone to almost again go back to the basics. And it's funny how this theme has been repeated over and over again, and I think that has a reason. But really going back to basics of like, children make sense of things through stories. They create their own narratives. They explain things for themselves, and stories are really how they go away from that, like confusing. Just like that's the way that they know. That's very basic, right? So I invite you all to utilize that because they're also really good, even though they're tiny. They're also very good at picking up like what's happening. And maybe they don't have the words to necessarily explain, okay, there's this thing that's happening and my dad is having a low tolerance, window of tolerance. Like they don't have that kind of vocabulary, but they do see, oh gosh, something's happening and daddy or mommy is a little more stressed than usual. And they're going to immediately start creating stories in their head to
Right.
make sense of that. Like, why is this the reality right now where like 2 weeks ago wasn't? So you want to make sure that you are helping them craft that story in a way that you said that feels truthful, that actually goes with what's going on, instead of like other stories that they can come up with that doesn't necessarily tap into the truth, and that can even like even hurt them in a way, right? Like you don't want your kids, and this is not to scare anyone. This is just so you guys see how big the imagination of a kid is,
Right.
and how they really grab on what they do know and then somehow they put it in the story. Like you don't want your tiny human thinking, oh gosh, my parent is stressed because I'm not behaving good. Like you don't want those type of stories to play
Right.
out. You
Right.
want to make sure that you go away from that and really direct them into something that makes a lot more sense. So that's a basic thing that I want to give all my parents are, just go with a story, create stories. That's really how kids understand and make sense of things. Now, there is this therapist over on Instagram, and again, technology. She is over in Seattle. Her name is Lindsay, and she published a couple of days ago ideas to play games with your kids to make those stories. So she was like suggesting creating a scrapbook, doing some sort of like Pictionary type of game where you draw and then you explain what's going on. Getting super creative with your kids, but something that is going to tap into, hey, this is a story that's playing out
Yeah.
according to their age, according to their level of understanding, according to the way that they learn. You want to consider all of those things. You know your kid better than anyone. So you want to consider all of that, but go with a story. Somehow put a story in their head that feels a lot more serving and healthy than whatever else they may be creating. You want to help explain and name and identify the feelings of confusion, the feelings of even stress. Like kids are living through this with us, so they're not going to be blind to this. They're going to also be confused in their own tiny human version. They're also going to be confused. They're going to be like asking all these questions. So you want to help them put words into that for sure.
Gosh, so good. And, stories are a part in our faith tradition as Christians. We tell stories regularly, and we read different stories, and we're giving out curriculum right now to our students and our children who are in these places to retell their own stories along the lines of the stories that we read about in Scripture. And so I think it's so healthy for us to, because we can frame the story how we choose in days like this, right? We can just talk about the suffering and the sad, the Netflix drowning, and the never moving the needle, or we can help paint a story that shows growth and care and Sabbath and place of wisdom, and even health that can come through tragic situations like global pandemics. So that's beautiful. I love that, Nathaly. I love the image of helping shape the story for our children. Okay, another question. So we're talking about children, and when you've got children, that plays a different role. Don't have children still. Maybe you're married, or you're in a relationship with someone. Relationships can find themselves in stressful places in this life, especially if you're confined to a home with that person. You can't go to the office for work. You can't go back up to school to teach your class. So how do couples find how do couples find care for themselves during times like this? You're a therapist, Leslie and I, my wife, in therapy, and we're so thankful that we have you. So talk to us about couple self-care.
A lot of it, again, going back to the basics, the same topic that we've been talking about, the learning piece. This is a wonderful time to learn about your significant other. Like there hasn't been a better time than this. You're gonna learn a lot of things. You're probably gonna learn things that you didn't even know before. If you've been with this person for a long time, you're about to discover a few little things that you didn't see before, right? Because we're living through a new stage of life almost. We've never been here before, so it's gonna come out with some newness. And that's my first go-to for my couples is slow down and sit and really understand the person that you're sharing the life with. Really try to understand why are they navigating through this time this way, who do they want to be, what's the best way to support them. This is for sure not the time to guess or assume. We do have a lot of patterns and things that we know about our partner that we kind of like go to when we want to provide support. Those may still apply, but they may not. So just sit down and have that conversation because of two reasons, right? When you sit down and have the conversation, even if what comes out is the same thing that you knew, you're like, okay, yeah, I knew that about yourself. I know that's how you want support and like responsive to it. So like, I know that, cool. Even if it's something that you already know, the idea of sitting down and having that conversation is already connection. So, I mean, that's your person. You want to be attuned to them. You want to make sure that you guys are connected enough to navigate the challenges. But really start with having an honest conversation about, hey, what is it that you need? How can I best support you? There
Right.
are some couples, for example, that I'm seeing of like, well, we have no problem sharing the house. That's my personal situation right now is like we have completely split our house, and then so I take one room, he takes another room, and we go through our day that way, and it's wonderful for us. There are other couples that are really taking advantage of the time together, so they still split, but they maybe they have lunch together. And there are
Right.
even couples who's like, oh wow, we get to live into each other's world and see how your work is if your work permits. So they're even doing the work together, and that feels really healthy. So again, a lot of options to play with. You just want to start having that conversation with your partner. Hey, what do we need right now, and how do we find that sweet middle spot where we're going to work at our best? Again, I think another parenthesis is like, once again, a big shout out to my team at Modern Therapy. They're really spectacular people, and I'm so blessed to be part of the team. Sunita, one of our other couple therapists, just put a blog on our page that kind of takes you also through more steps around how to deal with couples. So I would suggest if you're still stuck after talking, you feel that you're still stuck and you don't know what to do to deal with the situation with your partner, go ahead and tap again the technology, read a couple of blogs. There are wonderful resources already being put out there that you can have to help you navigate through this.
Perfect. Yeah, my wife Leslie is a hairstylist, so she's let me kind of come in and cut her
Mhm.
hair. I'm just kidding. Yeah, that would be. Can you imagine?
New hairstyle.
Yeah, let me
Next
just give
appointment,
you.
you show up with a
Yeah,
new
yeah. Let
hairstyle.
me, give me some rubber bands and some gel, and Leslie, I'll make your hair look beautiful. Yeah, she lets me right in. Just kidding. Oh, so good. No, that's great. Again, we'll get that resource that you recommended there from your colleague to post because it's healthy to share every resource. People have time to read right now, and so reading helps and educates us. All right, last question, Nathaly. Last question. Here we go. Like planning our days. Like again, the easy temptation is to watch Netflix or to watch a Disney Plus from 9 a.m. till noon with our kids, and then maybe get on walk around the age. Like we don't have very healthy patterns sometimes unless we make proper schedules. So I don't want you to calendar every hour of the day for people, but maybe you can share from your own experience, Nathaly, what's a good way to begin your day well, and then what's a good way to end your day well? And we'll wrap up with that question.
Mhm, mhm. Well, the even for me, as you ask me, okay, what I'm doing for myself, I've been playing a lot with the question like, who do I want to be right now? And it's a day-to-day thing. I know we talked about that a little bit ago. It's like it's a day-to-day thing. Everything's gonna look different every single day. That's totally fine. It's part of the adjustment. But you want to make sure that you're taking care of your needs and intentionality. So that is my number one tip. Is like, okay, how you start and end your day, whatever you need every single day. Like yesterday, I started my day with a workout. Today, I'm starting my day connecting with you and then having like a yummy breakfast. So like every single day has been different, and that's totally fine. But I am focusing a lot of intentionality,
Mm.
maybe even thinking of the next day, the night before, connecting a little bit of like, okay, who do I want to be tomorrow?
Oh,
What are some things, that I need for myself in the tomorrow? And then going with that. So even yesterday, I was working with one of my clients, kind of like developing a routine of like, okay, when you're in the state of high anxiety, what can be a good idea for you to do? When you're in the state of like low anxiety, what can you do? So kind of like in that intentionality of like, okay, let me really connect with what I need and then develop my day around that. So maybe starting your day with yoga may feel really good for you. And then at the end of the day, starting with a FaceTime call with a loved one. That feels really good. Or maybe starting your day with a prayer and then ending with cooking something yummy for you to eat and just nurture yourself. But you just want to put a lot of intention on whatever those mean, because it's a big deal. How we start, the ritual that we do, how we start our day, and the ritual that we do when we finish our day make a big difference. So just put a lot of intentionality and lead with the question, who do I want to be right now?
yeah.
Which I think it's a great question. It's going to help you build that resiliency that is also really important. It's going to get you in the habit of navigating life through that way. So that's my number one tip. Intention, really tune in. If I haven't said that enough.
No, I think you're reiterating a point that's constant, is getting back to the basics, getting back to that core of centering of who you are, and then just being intentional about what you do. I love that image of what if we thought about what tomorrow looks like. And right now it's hard because we're living day by day and new updates are coming. And so thinking about tomorrow is so healthy for right now. So I love that. It's a great image. Okay. You completed Soul Care. Well done. Thank you so much for your time. Before we go, any resources you want to just drop on us? And again, we're going to post some of these in the comments above and below. So what last minute thoughts in closing?
Well, I for sure, again, like Instagram right now is being a great resource, even for me personally. Connecting with all these therapists, people are being really, really nice, putting their knowledge out there for us to utilize. So I would do a quick Instagram search and like find a bunch of therapists. They're being very active, like all of us in our community are being very active. In the same way, there are people like giving workouts for free and stuff like that. So like Instagram right now, I'm really loving it. Obviously, we have a lot of resources in our Instagram page, Modern Therapy Official. So I would like nudge you to visit that, even maybe sign up for a newsletter. Dr. B is creating incredible newsletters right now that have a lot of information, tapping into blog posts like the one that I suggested from Sunita. And the last thing that I really want to make sure that you all know, and thank you so much for giving me the space to provide resource for our community, is this class that Christian and Kelly are gonna have on resiliency. So it's gonna be an 8-week class, which feels really good because it's gonna help you build those lasting habits, because resiliency is important right now, but it's important in general, just for life. So, and it's open for all communities. So whoever wants to attend can attend. You can sign up for the whole 8 weeks. You can sign up for day by day. So it has a lot of flexibility. And the part that I love the most about that class is that you're not only helping yourself, you're also helping the community, because it's a donation-based event, and 50% are going to go back to our kiddos in needs right now that need, food and need like help from us. So that just feels so great to be able to help our tiny humans that just, like we have a lot of resources that are adults, but our tiny humans are a little more exposed to not having that much. So it just feels really great that we'll be able to give back in that. So if you're into that, helping yourself and helping others, that class may be a great thing for you.
Great. I love it. Perfect. I always say, Nathaly, there are two kinds of people in the world: those who go to therapy and those who need to go to therapy. And so Thank you so much for your time today for our little therapy session. This has been very helpful and life-giving. So thank you and take care, Nathaly. Have a wonderful day.
It was a pleasure. You too. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you so much for checking out Selfcare. Join us again next week at noon on Friday. Have a great weekend. Bye.